a place known as the Mariana Trench's Challenger Deep, some 300 miles southwest of Guam. Tom Clark of Independent Television News has the story.
He's behind the two highest grossing movies of all time, but this was James Cameron.
What lies beneath 11,000 meters of crushing ocean? A place so remote, so hostile, that more humans have walked on the moon than reached its floor. For decades, we believed this realm belonged to science fiction, to creatures of nightmare, to depths forever beyond our grasp. But something changed, quietly, deliberately. While the world looked skyward toward Mars and distant stars, one nation turned its gaze downward, into the abyss. China is descending, not with fanfare, not with headlines, but with fleets of autonomous machines, permanent underwater stations, and an ambition that reaches deeper than any ocean trench. They're not just exploring, they're claiming, mapping, preparing. And as they move through waters darker than space itself, a question emerges from the depths. What exactly are they finding down there? And why does it matter to everyone on the surface? Stay with us as we descend into Earth's final frontier, where pressure crushes steel, where life defies logic, and where the future of our planet may already be taking shape in total darkness. The descent into another world. Picture yourself standing at the ocean's edge. Waves lap at your feet. Sunlight dances across the surface. Everything feels familiar, knowable. But beneath that thin skin of blue lies a universe we've barely touched. The journey begins in what scientists call the sunlight zone. Here, in the first 200 meters, warmth embraces you. Light penetrates. Colors bloom. Coral reefs stretch like underwater gardens. Schools of fish move in synchronized ballet. This is the ocean of postcards and swimming pools, of human memory and childhood wonder. We think we know this place, but this layer, this comfortable realm, represents less than 2% of the ocean's true depth. Sink lower. The light begins to fail. Between 200 and 1,000 meters, you enter the twilight realm. Shadows deepen. Colors drain away. The sun's rays struggle here, weakening with every meter, until only the faintest blue glow remains. The pressure builds, slowly at first, then with increasing force. 10 times what your body knows at sea level, enough to compress air, to change the physics of breath itself. Strange forms drift past. The oarfish, silver and serpentine, stretches longer than a city bus. It moves through the dimness like a living ribbon, rarely seen, poorly understood. Then comes the sea angel, translucent wings beating in slow motion, a creature so delicate it seems made of glass and memory. Evolution works differently here. Eyes grow larger to capture every photon. Bodies lose pigment, becoming transparent. Bones soften. Everything adapts or perishes. The last traces of daylight vanish at 1,000 meters. Now you're in the midnight realm. Total darkness wraps around you like a shroud. Your eyes strain, searching for reference, for anchor, for anything. And then you see it. Light, but not from above. From the creatures themselves. Bioluminescence. Living things generate their own illumination in patterns and pulses. Some use it to hunt, others to communicate, still others to confuse and escape. The viperfish hangs suspended, its jaw unhinged, teeth like needles pointing inward. The anglerfish dangles its glowing lure, patient as death itself. And there, drifting on invisible currents, the Magnapinna squid extends its impossibly long arms into the void. 8 meters of thin, spidery limbs that seem to have no end, dangling like puppet strings cut from an unseen hand. The pressure here exceeds 100 atmospheres. Imagine 1,500 pounds pressing against every square inch of your skin. An elephant standing on your fingertip. That force, constant and crushing, surrounds you completely. Human tissue would fail. Lungs would collapse. Bones would compress. But for creatures born in this realm, the pressure is normal. It's the absence of it that proves fatal. Consider the blobfish. In its natural habitat at these depths, it appears ordinary, just another deep-sea fish adapted to extreme pressure. But when fishermen haul it to the surface, that pressure disappears. The fish expands, deforms, becomes the sad, gelatinous creature of internet memes. It's not ugly, it's dying, its body rebelling against an environment it was never meant to survive. You continue downward. The midnight zone gives way to something even more extreme. At 4,000 meters, you enter the abyss proper. Here, the ocean floor begins to reveal itself. At first glance, it appears barren. Mud. Endless, featureless mud. But look closer. This sediment tells a story written over millions of years. Everything that lives in the ocean eventually falls. Fish die. Whales sink. Even microscopic plankton drift downward in an endless, gentle rain. Scientists call it marine snow. Layer upon layer, this organic matter settles, accumulates, compresses. In some places, it forms deposits over a kilometer thick. The ocean's history, preserved in mud. Life here survives on scraps, bacteria, worms, creatures that have mastered the art of patience, waiting months or years for a single meal. But occasionally, something changes. Something massive arrives. And when it does, the abyss transforms. A whale fell. When a great whale dies and sinks to the seafloor, it becomes an oasis. Within hours, scavengers arrive. Sleeper sharks, blind and ancient, tear at the flesh. Hagfish, boneless and primitive, burrow inside. Over weeks, the easy meat disappears, but the feast continues. Worms colonize the bones, extracting nutrients no other creature can access. Snails graze on bacterial mats. An entire ecosystem thriving on a single body, sustained for decades. The pressure at this depth exceeds 400 atmospheres, 7 elephants balanced on your fingertip. The temperature hovers just above freezing, yet life persists. Descend further. Below 6,000 meters, you enter the Hadal zone, named for Hades, god of the underworld. This is trench territory. Only the deepest canyons reach these depths, and only the most advanced submarines can follow. The pressure here defies comprehension. More than 600 times surface pressure. To survive it, a submersible needs walls several inches thick, made from titanium or specialized alloys. Every seal must be perfect. Every joint tested beyond failure. A single flaw means implosion. Instantaneous. Complete. And finally, at 10,984 meters, the deepest point on Earth's surface reveals itself. Challenger Deep, the bottom of the Mariana Trench. The pressure here exceeds 1,000 atmospheres, 90 elephants on every fingertip. In this crushing darkness, in cold that barely moves above freezing, you might expect nothing. A sterile wasteland, the edge of what life can endure. But you'd be wrong. Tiny, translucent shrimp move across the seafloor, single-celled organisms called xenophyophores, some as large as grapefruits, filter nutrients from the sediment. Life finds a way, even here, even in conditions that seem designed to prevent existence itself. Humans first reached this depth in 1960. 2 men, Jacques Picard and Don Walsh, descended in a steel sphere called the Trieste. They spent 20 minutes at the bottom. Then, for over 50 years, no one returned. James Cameron dove solo in 2012, filming and collecting samples.
Joining us right now is James Cameron, diver, explorer, director of The Abyss, a deep-sea thriller, and most famously, of course, Titanic as well as many other great films. James, I appreciate you joining us. Someone who's devoted his life to exploration as you have in many ways under the sea. I'm wondering what is going through your mind tonight.
A few years later, explorer Victor Vescovo made multiple trips in his submersible, The Limiting Factor. Each mission rare, each mission expensive, each mission a singular achievement, until China changed the equation. The machines that never surface. In 2020, China sent 3 people to the bottom of the Mariana Trench in a submersible called Fenduje. It marked their deepest crewed dive. But unlike previous expeditions, China didn't treat this as a milestone. They treated it as a beginning. What happened next caught the attention of ocean scientists worldwide. By 2024, China deployed something new to Challenger Deep. Not a massive submarine, not a crew of 3. Instead, a robot no larger than a shoebox, autonomous, cable-free. It descended under its own power, crawled across the seafloor, and returned intact. No fanfare, no celebration, just proof of concept. If one small robot can do what used to require a multi-million-dollar submarine, what happens when you build 100, 1,000? China is developing entire fleets of deep-sea machines. Some glide through the water column. Others crawl like mechanical crabs. Still others flex and undulate like artificial eels. Each designed for specific tasks. Each learns from the others. Together, they cover more territory, more efficiently than any crude mission could achieve. But what are they searching for? The answer begins with something called a cold seep. Imagine a crack in the seafloor where methane and hydrogen sulfide bubble up from beneath the Earth's crust. No sunlight reaches these places, no photosynthesis, yet life thrives. Tube worms, some as long as a human, cluster around the vents. Mussels coat the rocks.
The most unique among the species is the tube worm and its ability to adapt.
Bacteria form thick, white mats. They survive on chemical energy, a process called chemosynthesis. For China, cold seeps represent more than biological curiosities. They're natural laboratories demonstrating how life can exist without traditional energy sources. They provide models for future energy systems. And they resemble environments scientists believe exist on Jupiter's moon Europa and Saturn's moon Enceladus. Understanding these seeps means understanding how life might emerge elsewhere in the solar system. Then there's methane hydrate, fire ice. Look at the seafloor images, and you'll see what appears to be frozen snow embedded in the sediment. Light it with a match, and it burns. This substance forms when methane gas becomes trapped in ice crystals under high pressure and low temperature. Vast deposits exist on continental slopes worldwide. Some estimates suggest more energy is locked in methane hydrate than in all known oil and gas reserves combined. Extracting it presents enormous challenges. Disturb the sediment too aggressively, and you risk triggering underwater landslides. Release too much methane, a greenhouse gas far more potent than carbon dioxide, and you accelerate climate change. The technology to harvest fire ice safely doesn't yet exist, but China is working on it. And they're studying it in situ, at depth, where the conditions are real and the risks immediate. Now consider these strange, dark lumps scattered across the abyssal plain, polymetallic nodules. They look like potatoes made of stone. Inside, they contain cobalt, nickel, copper, and manganese, exactly the metals needed for batteries, electric vehicles, and renewable energy infrastructure.
Along certain parts of the ocean floor lie a bounty of rare minerals and metals, critical components for batteries, electric cars, and other electronics. But mining for them in the deep sea is a controversial and potentially destructive process. Special correspondent Villa Marks detailed the process and the stakes.
These nodules form over millions of years as metals precipitate from seawater and settle around a small nucleus, like a pearl growing in reverse. They rest on the seafloor, free for the taking. No drilling, no blasting, just collection. Companies are already designing mining vehicles. Picture a large, slow-moving tractor that crawls across the bottom, scooping up the top layer of sediment along with the nodules. Everything gets pumped through a hose to a surface ship. The nodules are processed, and the waste sediment is discharged back into the ocean. Marine biologists are deeply alarmed. Those mining vehicles create massive sediment plumes that drift for miles, smothering habitats and disrupting ecosystems that evolved over millions of years in stable conditions. Some species found near nodule fields exist nowhere else on Earth. Remove their habitat, and they vanish forever. Recovery could take centuries, or longer, or never happen at all. Yet the push continues. The demand for these metals grows daily, and the regulations governing deep-sea mining remain weak. fragmented, and largely unenforceable. China sees this gap. They're not just observing, they're positioning themselves to act before international law catches up. The infrastructure of dominance. Exploration without presence means nothing. You can visit the deep, collect samples, publish papers, and win awards. But unless you can stay, unless you can operate continuously, you're just a tourist. China understands this. They're planning something unprecedented, a permanent underwater research station at 2,000 meters depth. Not a submarine, not a temporary habitat, a base, designed for 6 scientists to live and work for up to 30 days at a time. Think of it as an international space station, but instead of orbiting above Earth, it sits on the seafloor. The engineering challenges are similar: life support, waste management, communication, resupply. But with one crucial difference: the ocean is far less forgiving than the vacuum of space. Corrosion, biofouling, pressure fluctuations. Every system must endure conditions that degrade metal, crack seals, and foster failure. If China succeeds, they gain something invaluable: time. Time to test new technologies under real conditions. Time to monitor environmental changes. Time to map resources. Time to understand the deep in ways that short-term missions never could. Experience compounds, knowledge builds, and nations that establish long-term presence set the rules for everyone who follows. But there's another dimension to China's deep-sea push, one that has nothing to do with nodules or exotic life. Beneath the ocean floor runs the nervous system of modern civilization. Undersea data cables, more than 400 of them, stretching over 1 million kilometers combined, carrying 95% of international internet traffic. Messages, financial transactions, military communications, streaming videos, everything flows through these fragile lines. Each cable is about as thick as a garden hose, protected by layers of plastic and steel, but still vulnerable. A ship dragging its anchor can sever a cable by accident. It happens more often than you'd think. But what if someone wanted to cut them deliberately? In early 2025, China revealed a deep-sea robot equipped with cutting tools. Officially, it's designed to repair damaged cables, but a device capable of fixing cables can also destroy them, thousands of meters below the surface, out of sight, out of reach. No evidence, no attribution. There's no proof it's ever been used offensively. But the capability alone shifts the strategic calculus. Imagine a conflict where one nation can quietly disable an adversary's communications without firing a shot, without crossing a border, without triggering any traditional definition of warfare. The cables go dark, the internet slows, markets stutter, and no one can prove who did it or how. Control of the deep sea is about more than resources. It's about power, the power to enable, the power to disrupt, the power to operate in a domain where laws are vague and enforcement is nearly impossible. The cost of retreat. While China accelerates, others slow down. In the United States, federal funding for ocean research has stagnated or declined. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, the agency responsible for understanding America's ocean territory, faces budget cuts and political interference. Scientists are leaving, programs are shutting down, expeditions are canceled. It's not that American researchers lack ambition or capability. They lack support. China, meanwhile, floods its marine science programs with funding. They build new research vessels. They open new laboratories. They recruit talent from around the world, offering resources and freedom that many Western institutions can no longer provide. The gap is widening. Ocean science isn't just about curiosity or conservation. It's about sovereignty, security, and economic advantage. Nations that understand the deep, that can operate there safely and continuously, will shape the future of energy, mining, telecommunications, and geopolitics. We've been here before. In the 1960s, the space race drove competition between the United States and the Soviet Union. Each side pushed the boundaries of what seemed possible. Eventually, rivalry gave way to cooperation. The International Space Station became a symbol of what humanity can achieve when nations work together. We need that same spirit now, not to abandon competition, but to balance it with collaboration. The deep sea is one of Earth's last truly wild places. Once disturbed, ecosystems may never recover. Once claimed, territories may never be shared. If we rush forward without oversight, without international agreements, without a commitment to preservation, we risk repeating the mistakes of the past, exploiting until nothing remains, fighting over scraps instead of building systems that benefit everyone. But international cooperation requires trust, and trust is eroding. Nations are retreating into competition, prioritizing short-term advantage over long-term stability. China's deep-sea investments aren't just scientific, they're strategic.
China's deep-sea exploration sector is marking industry milestones as the country's 14th five-year plan ends this year. China has rapidly advanced.
Every robot deployed, every base planned, every cable mapped represents a move in a larger game. A game where the board is hidden beneath miles of water and the rules are still being written. The question we haven't asked. So here we are, standing at the edge of the ocean, looking down into a darkness we're only beginning to understand. China is descending, building machines that never tire, that require no air, that gather data continuously. They're creating the infrastructure to operate where humans cannot survive. They're mapping resources, testing technologies, and positioning themselves to control access to Earth's least explored and most resource-rich environment. Meanwhile, the institutions meant to explore and protect our ocean are underfunded, undervalued, and increasingly sidelined. The deep sea holds answers to questions we haven't yet learned to ask. How did life begin? How can organisms thrive without sunlight? What resources lie buried in the abyss? How do we balance extraction with preservation? And perhaps most importantly, who decides? If only one nation dominates this frontier, the answers will be shaped by that nation's priorities, its economic needs, its strategic goals. The rest of the world will inherit whatever remains. But it doesn't have to be this way. We can choose cooperation over dominance. We can prioritize understanding over exploitation. We can write rules before the damage becomes irreversible. The deep sea isn't just another place to conquer. It's a mirror, reflecting our choices, our values, and our willingness to protect what we cannot see. Down there, in the silence, every decision echoes louder than we realize. The race has already begun. The only question is whether we'll join it in time to matter. Because every delay, every excuse, costs more than we think species, balance, and truth itself. If this story challenged the way you think about the ocean, about competition, about the future, then share it. Talk about it. Demand better from leaders who'd rather look away than look down. Because silence is a choice too. And if you want more stories like this, stories that dive beneath the surface, that go where headlines don't, that remind us the world's greatest battles are often unseen, then hit subscribe. Because the deep isn't finished revealing its secrets, and neither are we.